Hi there, everyone. It's finally here. Welcome back to On the Flip Side. My name is Adam Shawwalker, your host, and today we're going to be checking out this new album from Oklahoma City-based noise rock outfit Chat Pile, God's Country. This is the long-awaited full-length album from Chat Pile. After multiple EPs, splits, singles, song leaks, you name it, we have finally got this new album. I didn't personally have to wait as long as some people for this release, as I found Chat Pile earlier this year after going down a bit of a music rabbit hole, and that landed me on their EP, Remove Your Skin Please. An EP that I thought was incredibly fresh with some very picturesque lyrics and punishing walls of fuzzed out, noisy guitars and bass. The gritty and grimy punk aesthetic was really more than enough to get my attention, but they kept it by having such a captivating spin on noise rock, with this almost Swans meets Lux Interior a la the Cramps mashup. So when this album was announced, I was pretty excited. I really enjoyed Remove Your Skin Please and burnt through the rest of the Chat Pile back catalog very quickly. The singles that led up to this album, though, I did think were a little bit hit and miss. The three singles they dropped, first off, we've got Slaughterhouse, which is the first song on the album. We've got Why, the second track, and Wicked Puppet Dance, which is track 4, each of which is great, and some of them a little bit more so than others. Slaughterhouse, I think, is a great first offering here. You know, it's a very good album opener, but in comparison to some of these other songs, it comes off as more of just like a taste of what's to come instead of the main offering. The track Why is probably one of my favorite singles this year, with this intense, brutal questioning and criticism of homelessness as a very basic, why do people have to live outside? We have plenty of empty, warm buildings, so why are there people living outside? Which passed the theme, which is great. I love the instrumentation here, which is just layers and layers of low-tuned, grinding riffs and just ear-rupturing drums. The most recent and final single, Wicked Puppet Dance, I find is a pretty good blend, pretty good balance between the last two singles. I really like the pacing on this track specifically. It reminds me a lot of like early Killing Joke stuff, but kind of strung out on mysterious pills found on the ground at like a truck stop or something. And those were all just the singles, so we've already got a pretty good, pretty decent spread of sound, but then you dip into the newest album material and you get even more surprises, like the third track, Pamela, which is really leaning more into a post-punk sound, even more so than previous tracks off of some of their earlier material like Dallas Beltway or Davis, where they were kind of only tickling and toying with that idea. Here, though, it's much more fleshed out for at least the majority of the track, whereas the final segments kind of delves once again into the hammering, chaotic noise, which was to be expected. And they really do continue with these touches more and more here, just kind of pulling from more alternative rock elements and even some like shoegaze stuff here on the track Anywhere, which really feels like they're pulling from some Glider era My Bloody Valentine, or maybe some Death Consciousness. It just feels like Chat Pile have really nailed down some pretty exceptional examples of nuance from track to track, and even from moment to moment in these songs. The delivery here on every part feels more timid and maybe even more apprehensive than any other track, and yet still so full of energy. And I know I've already mentioned post-punk before, but man, the way these drums are mixed, especially on this track, really scratches an itch for some Joy Division, with the ever so slight reverb and huge compressed blasts of noise from the snare and the cymbals. Tropical Beaches Inc. further pulls from more left field influences with a driving opening that sounds a lot like they're kind of going for like a sludge laden surf rock track. The reverbed out twangy guitars are bizarre and play really nicely over the thick bass line. I do also like that the song ends with a really hefty beat down that I think is definitely meant to be a lead into some skull crushing in a live setting. And they pretty much double down on that for the next track, The Mask, which I am certain in the right crowd is the soundtrack for an assault charge. It's kind of crazy how many people I've seen call Chat Pile noise rock at this point, myself included, when at this point it really feels more like a noise sludge band, and it's just all so much at once, and it's just so goddamn heavy. I love this track. Things very abruptly hold back for the track I Don't Care If I Burn, which is the slow, muffled kick drum beat and what sounds like samples of like paper being torn, and that's the backdrop for some very intense spoken word poetry. In this case, it reminds me a lot of the spoken word material that Black Flag put out a long time ago, like Family Man, though in this case it's much more of an interlude track. Any meaning in the lyrics are fairly knee-deep, nothing too crazy, but it does create a really great atmosphere. And that leads into the final track, Grimace Smoking Weed .jpg, which is 9 fucking minutes long, and I think is really where the band lets loose some of their most chaotic writing. And I think it's largely supposed to be a bit of a goof, kind of just a reminder to not take this stuff too seriously, but even still, it's a really high-effort goof. I'm kind of baffled by this song just as much as I am amazed by it. All of these instrumentals are amazing, the lyrics, and really the choice for this song's topic is actually just completely unhinged. It's just so weirdly fresh. The noises coming out of this man are past animalistic. It's utterly impressive beyond just being silly. Yeah, I think Chat Pile have really managed to largely maintain a creative peak during most of this album that they launched themselves into on their last few releases, and at points it does reach past that very high bar that's been set to a point that I would just say this is a very excellent record. I mean, really, with the exception of like Slaughterhouse and maybe a few moments on like Tropical Beaches, I think this is probably a contender for Best Album of the Year, in my opinion. I think God's Country is a 9. Thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know what you thought of this album in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe and check out my Instagram, my Reverb, and my Depop. Links to those are in the description below. Thank you all so much again, and we'll see you on the flip side.